The flashing red and blue lights erupt in your rearview mirror. Your heart instantly seizes, a primal jolt of adrenaline flooding your system. Your mind races. Was I speeding? A taillight out? As you pull over, the routine traffic stop begins, a mundane, if annoying, part of modern life. But what you may not realize is that this interaction is a high-stakes legal proceeding, a microcosm of the justice system where power, psychology, and your constitutional rights collide on the asphalt. For the officer, this is rarely just about a traffic violation. It is a golden opportunity, a legally sanctioned fishing expedition to investigate far more. And they are trained, both formally and through experience, in a set of psychologically potent and legally ambiguous techniques designed to unravel your composure, extract information, and turn a simple ticket into a life-altering criminal charge. I am a lawyer who has spent years dissecting police reports, listening to dash and body camera footage, and defending clients who walked into a traffic stop as free citizens and left in handcuffs, not fully understanding how it happened. They often say, "I was just being polite," or "I had nothing to hide." This is precisely the mindset these techniques exploit. The evil in these tricks isn't necessarily mustache-twirling malice. It's their insidious, manipulative, and often coercive nature. They weaponize social norms, pressure, and confusion against you, transforming a consensual conversation into a waiver of your fundamental rights. This is not an anti-police polemic. It is a survival manual for the constitutional citizen. Law enforcement has a difficult job, and the vast majority perform it honorably. However, the system's incentives and training often prioritize case generation over mere traffic safety. Understanding these 5 pervasive strategies is not about getting away with wrongdoing. It is about ensuring your rights remain intact, preventing escalation, and navigating one of the most common yet perilous encounters with state power. Your politeness should not become the instrument of your own undoing. Knowledge is your first and most powerful line of defense. Let's pull back the curtain. Trick number 1. The presumptive consent search. Mind if I take a look around? This is the cornerstone, the most common and devastatingly effective trick in the patrol officer's playbook. The Fourth Amendment protects you from unreasonable searches and seizures. For a warrantless search of your vehicle, an officer generally needs probable cause, a reasonably high standard of evidence that a crime has been or is being committed. A burnt marijuana smell, visible contraband, or an admission of guilt can provide this. But lacking that, they need one thing above all: your voluntary consent. The trick lies in manufacturing that voluntariness through psychological pressure and semantic framing. The mechanics of the trap. The officer has stopped you for a minor violation. The initial business is handled, license, registration, maybe a warning or ticket is written. The tension seems to be dissipating. Then, with a disarming smile or a tone of casual routine, the officer hands back your documents and delivers the key line. "Okay, Mr. Smith, you're all set on the ticket. Just out of curiosity, you don't have any guns or drugs in the car, do you?" Your instinctive, innocent reply, "Oh no, officer. Of course not." This is the hook. They immediately follow with, "Okay, great. So you wouldn't mind if I just take a quick look around, then? It'll only take a second." The psychological pressure in this moment is immense. You've just verbally declared your innocence. Refusing now feels incongruent, even guilty. It feels socially rude and confrontational to say no to a figure of authority who has just seemingly done you a favor by letting you off with a warning. The officer's demeanor is often deliberately non-confrontational, framing the request as a mere formality. They phrase it as a yes/no question, but the social script screams that yes is the only acceptable answer. The legal reality. In the eyes of the law, the question, "Do you mind if I search?" is legally identical to "I demand to search your vehicle." However, your no or silence in the face of the former is a revocation of consent, while your silence in the face of the latter is simply you enduring an unlawful order. By phrasing it as a request, they shift the burden of assertion onto you. They have now made you the actor. If you say yes, You have waived your Fourth Amendment rights as effectively as if you signed a waiver. Any evidence found, a forgotten pipe in the glove compartment, a friend's backpack in the trunk, a legally prescribed pill bottle without its label, becomes admissible. The officer has created a consent that is not truly free from coercion. Courts have repeatedly upheld searches based on consent given in this coercive environment, often ruling that a reasonable person would feel free to say no, a legal fiction that ignores profound power dynamics. The defense, the polite, unambiguous no. You must retrain your brain. A request to search is not a test of your character. It is a legal maneuver. Your response must be polite, clear, and unambiguous. Practice it. Officer, I respect what you're doing, but I do not consent to any searches of my vehicle. No, thank you. I do not consent to a search. Say nothing else. Do not explain, justify, or apologize. You are not being suspicious. You are exercising a foundational right. The officer may press you. Why not? If you have nothing to hide, this is a classic pressure tactic. Your reply remains a calm, broken record. I just don't consent to searches. Am I free to leave? This last question is crucial, as it forces the officer to either let you go or articulate a reason to detain you further. Trick number 2. The Terry frisk, bait and switch, from pat-down to full vehicle search. Named after the landmark Supreme Court case Terry v. Ohio, a stop and frisk is a narrow exception to the warrant requirement. An officer who has reasonable suspicion that a person is armed and dangerous may conduct a pat-down of the person's outer clothing for weapons. This is not a search for drugs. It is a search for guns, knives, clubs, items that could immediately harm the officer. The trick is to initiate a lawful Terry frisk and then, through verbal sleight of hand or dubious plain field doctrine, transform it into a full-blown evidentiary search. The mechanics of the trap. During the traffic stop, the officer claims to observe furtive movements, nervousness that seems excessive, or the vague odor of marijuana, which in many states where cannabis is legal, no longer provides probable cause for a search, but officers still use it. They say, for my safety, I'm going to have you step out of the car, and I'm going to do a quick pat-down. This can be legally justifiable. As they pat you down, they may ask, "What's this in your pocket?" feeling a lump. Even if you say it's cigarettes or keys, they may manipulate the object through the fabric. The plain field doctrine states that if an officer, during a lawful pat-down, feels an object whose contour or mass makes its identity immediately apparent as contraband, like a bag of pills or the distinct shape of a crack pipe, they may seize it. The trick is that officers are trained to articulate that every lump they feel was immediately apparent as contraband. Furthermore, once you are out of the car and being frisked, the officer's partner will often shine a flashlight into your vehicle's interior. This is the bait and switch. The original justification was officer safety, you being armed. But now, their attention shifts to the passenger compartment. They may claim to see in plain view something suspicious, a seed on the floor mat, a rolled-up dollar bill, a hidden compartment they deem suspicious. The lawful Terry frisk of your person now becomes the springboard for an unlawful exploratory search of your car, all justified by a cascading series of articulated suspicions. The legal reality. The line between a protective frisk for weapons and an investigatory search for evidence is intentionally blurry in police training. Case law is a maze of contradictory rulings on what constitutes immediately apparent. Officers are taught to articulate their way into a search. The initial lawful action, the frisk, creates a veneer of legitimacy for everything that follows, making it harder for a court to later suppress the evidence. They are banking on your ignorance of the narrow scope of a Terry frisk. The defense, know the scope and verbally demarcate it. If ordered out of the car, comply calmly. If told you will be frisked, you can say, "I understand you want to ensure your safety. I am not resisting. However, I do not consent to any search beyond a pat-down for weapons." This creates a clear, audible record, potentially on body camera, that you are not consenting to a general search. If they start digging in your pockets, you can repeat, "Officer, are you retrieving what you believe to be a weapon?" This forces them to articulate their reasoning in real time. Do not physically resist, but use clear language to object, preserving your rights for a later legal challenge. Trick number 3, the pretextual stop and the windshield recon. This trick happens before the blue lights even flash. The pretextual stop is a legally sanctioned deception. The Supreme Court, in Wren v. United States, ruled that an officer's subjective intent is irrelevant if they have objective probable cause for a traffic violation. In practice, this means an officer can follow virtually any car for a few blocks and witness a technical violation. A slightly rolled stop, a California stop, drifting over a lane line, a license plate light being out, an air freshener obstructing the windshield, or traveling 1 to 2 miles per hour over the limit. The violation is not the goal. It is the key to unlock a detention. The officer uses this minor infraction as a pretext to stop a vehicle they want to investigate for other reasons: drug trafficking, outstanding warrants, or simply a hunch. The traffic code becomes a tool for generalized law enforcement, not traffic safety. The mechanics of the trap. Once the vehicle is stopped, the windshield recon begins. As the officer approaches your car, they're not just looking at you. They are conducting a deliberate, slow scan of your entire vehicle's interior, using their flashlight if at night. They're trained to look for indicators. Nervousness. Beyond normal anxiety, they note white-knuckle grip on the wheel, failure to make eye contact, or exaggerated breathing. Passenger behavior. Passengers who appear to be hiding or adjusting their posture oddly. Odors. The alleged smell of air fresheners used to mask drugs, marijuana, or alcohol. Sight lines. An overly clean car with no personal items, suggesting a rental used for transport, or, conversely, an abundance of clutter that could hide contraband. Specific items. Energy drinks associated with long-distance drug runs, multiple phones, maps, fast food wrappers, or tools that could be used to access hidden compartments. Every detail is woven into a narrative of suspicion. The original broken taillight is now just the opening chapter in a story the officer is writing about you being a criminal. The recon provides the articulable facts they need to extend the stop, call for a K-9 unit, or launch into the consent request from trick number 1. The legal reality. Pretextual stops are perfectly legal, making them incredibly powerful. The windshield recon is passive observation, not a search, so it violates no right. The problem is the leap from observation to conclusion. Training materials often present these indicators as near certain signs of criminality, when in reality, they are behaviors common to countless innocent, nervous, or simply tired people. This confirmation bias turns ordinary items into criminal evidence. The defense. The principle of minimal interaction. You cannot prevent a pretextual stop, but you can control what happens next. Your goal is to give the officer nothing to add to their narrative. This is where the principle of minimal interaction is vital. Have your license, registration, and proof of insurance easily accessible. Fumbling through the glove box creates time for observation and appears suspicious. Keep your hands on the wheel, visible. At night, turn on your dome light. Be polite but brief. Answer direct questions about your identity and the stop's purpose only. Do you know why I stopped you? A safe reply is, I'm not sure, officer. Do not offer excuses, stories, or unsolicited information. Do not engage in friendly chat about where you're coming from or going to. This is not a social call. It is an investigation. Your calm, quiet demeanor provides fewer indicators for the officer's narrative and limits the grounds for extending the detention. Trick number 4, the mosaic theory and the extended detention. Just wait for the K-9. The law is clear. A traffic stop must last no longer than the time reasonably required to complete its mission, to address the traffic violation and conduct ordinary incidentals like a license and warrant check. This should take, on average, 15 to 20 minutes. The trick is to artificially extend this detention, building a mosaic of tiny, seemingly innocuous facts to create the reasonable suspicion needed to hold you longer, typically to await a drug-sniffing dog. The mechanics of the trap. The stop begins normally. But then, the officer engages in a prolonged, friendly-seeming interrogation that has nothing to do with the broken taillight. So, where are you headed tonight? Where do you come from? Who do you know there? What do you do for work? Is this your car? Mind if I talk to your passenger separately? Each question seems harmless, but the officer is looking for inconsistencies in your story or between your story and your passengers. They're also noting your travel plans. A trip that seems illogical to them, e.g., a short trip for a seemingly unimportant reason, becomes a tile in the mosaic. So does excessive nervousness, the presence of an air freshener, in your vague answers. Armed with this mosaic, nervous driver plus air freshener plus traveling from a sore city for drugs plus inconsistent timeline, the officer now claims to have developed reasonable suspicion of criminal activity unrelated to the traffic stop. This justifies extending your detention. They will say, okay, I'm just going to have my partner run a drug dog around the exterior of your vehicle. It'll just be a couple minutes. They then call for the K-9 unit, which can take 30 to 60 minutes to arrive. You're now trapped by the side of the road. The legal reality. In Rodriguez versus United States, the Supreme Court ruled that a traffic stop may not be prolonged beyond the time needed to handle the matter without reasonable suspicion. However, officers are experts at creating a paper trail of articulable facts that, when combined, meet the low bar of reasonable suspicion. The mosaic is a legal fiction built from subjective observations. The prolonged questioning itself is the tool used to manufacture the justification for the prolonged detention, a circular and deeply unfair process. The defense, the power of silence, and the "am I free to go?" checkpoint. You have no obligation to answer investigative questions. While you must provide identification, you are not required to narrate your life story. To questions unrelated to the traffic violation, you may politely reply, "Officer, I don't mean to be rude, but I don't answer questions. I like to focus on the traffic matter, so I can be on my way." If the officer continues to delay, taking an unusually long time in their cruiser, for example, you have a right to ask, "Officer, is there a reason for the delay? Am I free to leave?" This, again, forces them to either release you or articulate a reason for your continued detention. If they say you are being detained, ask, "Can you please tell me the specific reason for my detention?" This creates a record. While they may still hold you, you have preserved a critical argument for your attorney that the detention was unlawfully extended. Trick number 5, the implied admission and the "you're helping yourself" lie. This is the most psychologically sophisticated trick, targeting your innate desire to appear cooperative, to explain yourself, and to avoid the worst possible outcome. It involves the officer implying that things will go easier for you if you talk, and then structuring your denials as implied admissions of guilt. The mechanics of the trap. The officer, after some preliminary chat, shifts into a friendly advisor role. Their tone becomes sympathetic, almost conspiratorial. "Look, I've been doing this a long time. I can tell when someone's made a mistake. This is your chance to help yourself. If there's something in this car you shouldn't have, and you tell me now, I can put in my report that you were cooperative." That goes a long way with the DA and the judge. They're a lot harder on people who lie and make me find it. So, why don't you just be straight with me? Is there anything in here? This "helping yourself" lie is pervasive and powerful. It preys on the fear of the unknown and the belief in a fair deal. The officer has zero authority to make deals with you on the side of the road. The prosecutor, not the officer, decides what charges to file. The officer's promise is almost always empty. Now, notice the trap in the questioning. If you say, "No, there's no drugs," you have just specifically denied drugs. But what about an unregistered gun? Prescription pills not in their bottle? So they follow up. "Okay, no drugs. What about a firearm? Any illegal weapons?" Each specific denial narrows the field for them. Worse, if they do find something, your earlier denials can be used as evidence of consciousness of guilt to obstruct justice. Furthermore, they use the implied admission. They state something as fact and gauge a reaction. "I know the marijuana in the ashtray isn't yours. It's probably your friend's, right?" An innocent person would vehemently deny there is any marijuana at all. But many, flustered and wanting to avoid ownership, will latch onto the lifeline offered. Yeah, it's not mine. It must be my buddy's. You have just admitted, on tape, that marijuana is present in your car. You have confessed to constructive possession and given them probable cause for a full search. The legal reality. Any statement you make is admissible against you. The helping yourself speech is not considered coercive enough to render a confession involuntary in most courts. It is seen as shrewd police work. The technique of getting you to adopt their hypothetical, your friend's drugs, is a classic interrogation method designed to get you to acknowledge the presence of contraband without feeling the full weight of admitting ownership. The defense. Invoke your right to remain silent, clearly and completely. This trick requires your participation to work. Start of fuel. The moment the officer's tone shifts from traffic enforcement to criminal investigation, the moment they ask any question beyond the scope of the stop, you must invoke your Fifth Amendment right. Say clearly and calmly, "Officer, on the advice of counsel, I am exercising my right to remain silent and will not answer any questions. I would like a lawyer if this is going to continue." Then stop talking. Do not be drawn into their hypotheticals. Do not accept their friendly advice. Their promise of leniency is a mirage. The only person who can help you is your attorney, not the officer investigating you. Your silence cannot be used against you in court. Your words absolutely can be. The suspense-driven question for you. Given what you now know about the pretextual stop and the windshield recon, if an officer pulls you over for a minor violation and immediately asks detailed, unrelated questions about your travel plans, what is the single most important verbal response you can give to protect your rights and prevent the stop from escalating? Answer in the comments below. Conclusion. The armor of knowledge. A traffic stop is a temporary suspension of your liberty. It is a detention. These 5 tricks, presumptive consent, the Terry bait and switch, the pretextual windshield recon, the mosaic theory extension, and the implied admission lie, are the primary tools used to turn that limited detention into a devastating criminal case. They rely on your ignorance, your politeness, and your desire for the encounter to end quickly. Your defense is not belligerence, but calm, informed assertion. It is the polite, "I do not consent to searches." It is the clear, "I am exercising my right to remain silent." It is the pivotal question, "Am I free to leave?" It is understanding that you are not in a conversation. You're in an adversarial legal proceeding where the state's agent is gathering evidence against you. This knowledge is your armor. It allows you to navigate this high-pressure situation without surrendering the rights that define our freedom. The balance of power on the roadside is unequal, but it is not hopeless. By knowing the rules of the game, the real rules, not the social ones, you can ensure you walk away with your liberty and your future intact. If you found this deep dive into your constitutional rights valuable, imagine what a detailed breakdown of police interrogation tactics or your rights inside your home could do for your security and confidence. We create this intensive, lawyer-vetted content to empower you. Don't navigate a complex legal system in the dark. Protect yourself and your family. Hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications right now. You won't want to miss our next crucial guide.